Guys, we're here. Aubrey's here. I'm here. Aubrey is one of our clients here at San Jose Barbell, and Aubrey has lost 50 pounds.
55 pounds.
55 pounds. And she had already lost like 20 pounds before coming here. And she's just been killing it. So we're going to talk about a couple of things. But before we get into that, what I want to highlight, so why should you listen to Aubrey or what Aubrey has to say? And feel free to add anything to this.
Okay.
Is because you have been able to lose all this weight, be super calm about it. You don't have like stress like people typically do about like, oh my god, I can't eat this, I have to eat that, or I can't go out. You've been able to enjoy all kinds of festivities and foods. Like yesterday, what'd you guys eat?
We had Mochi donuts from the Moto Hawaii pop-up here in San Jose.
There you go. And you know, you've been to all these different events the whole time while losing weight. And how like is it as far as like degree of difficulty, and like where would you rate it 1 to 10? 10 being like, oh my god, like I can't do anything or go anywhere. 1 is like super easy, like I'm not even really thinking about it. Where would you rate your difficulty?
Maybe like a 3.
A 3. And where would you rate your enjoyability of the process? Like 10 being, oh my god, this is so amazing. 1 is like, this is terrible. Like I cannot do this another day.
9.
It's pretty good. I'll take that all day. So that is why I would really listen to what Aubrey has to say. So let's just get into it. And one more side note, because most people, when they do this, including myself when I started out, they think it can't be that. You can't have 50 pounds of fat loss or whatever amount it is for the person and have a 9 enjoyability and a 3 difficulty level. Like that's like doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so that's why you really need to like pay attention. So is there anything like, actually let's just get into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of like, you know, your life leading up to deciding to be like, hey, I want, or before you joined San Jose Barbell and started working with us, what's been your journey with like fat loss and like all that kind of stuff?
Sure. So I'm a little bit of a strange case, I would say, because I was never like a yo-yo dieter. I never really hated my body or thought that I was disgusting, which, you know, is often the impetus for a lot of people to seek out this sort of change. Is, you know, they get a picture taken and they're like, oh my god, I look like that. Truthfully, that's what happened to me, but it wasn't out of disgust. It was just more like I had been avoiding the harsh reality of carrying a lot of excess body fat, which is, you know, your health isn't optimal. And for a very long time, because I've been obese my whole life, for a very long time I remained actually in healthy ranges for typical stats like your cholesterol and things like that. But it was starting to catch up to me. It was under maintenance from doctors' help. But there was a period in my life where post-college I was just not being very active. I was eating out a lot. There was a lot of stuff going on personally, and so I, for better or for worse, was using food to cope with things instead of having more healthy coping mechanisms. Yeah, but then 3 years ago, I had that situation where I was in a picture, saw it, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize I let it get that bad. And again, it was never like, and then I decided to change something, but it wasn't because I hated it. I just was like, you know, being shown in front of your face, like this is the reality of your situation is kind of like, all right.
So let me ask you, like, prior to that, did you never like take pictures, or did you just never see a picture of yourself? Like, what's interesting to me is that, you know, especially as we've grown up, or people in our age range, like we've just pictures are all the time.
Yeah.
Like there's pictures being taken, nonstop. Something doesn't exist unless a picture was taken. You can't have an event if there wasn't a picture that was taken, right?
You didn't eat food if there was no picture of it.
Exactly. Like, do those calories even exist?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, tell me a little bit about that, because I talk to a lot of people. Because as a human being, and you can correct me if this is not your thinking, but like typically when you see a picture, who do your eyes go to first? Like yourself. Like the first thing you look at in a picture is yourself. And so I'm curious about that. Like, did you just not pay attention, or what was all that about?
I think a big part of it was that, yes, I was in pictures, of course I was in pictures, but I think the people around me were very diverse in body type. So I'm very fortunate in that growing up, being obese my whole life, I was surrounded by people who were also, overweight. So like I was never singled out or made fun of or anything like that.
You didn't feel like different or
no,
weird?
I didn't feel different, didn't feel weird. I know that's a pretty rare case to be in a very supportive environment for what you are, but I was, and so I never considered it bad. Like I'd see pictures of myself, and if anything, I'd be like, why did I wear that shirt?
Yeah.
But I never looked at myself in terms of like my body size and say, this is a problem. Actually, the thing about the picture that really struck me was that I was standing next to a friend of mine who had graduated and one of her friends, and they're both like very stereotypically socially acceptable sized women, but they're both actually petite. And so standing next to two petite women, it made me be more aware of my size relative to them. Yes, yeah. It was very obvious. And then actually, that same night when they were reviewing these pictures on her camera, not my friend who graduated, but the other one, she very openly, while I was in the room, she was saying, wow, I look so fat in these pictures.
She said that?
She said that.
To you?
No, to her, to our mutual friend. She was talking to our mutual friend. They were looking over pictures, and because I was in the room with them, but I wasn't, like, they were over there and I was over here. And she was telling her, she was like, oh my god, I look so, like, look how fat I am in these pictures. Like, these shadows, they're, like, nothing, I can't hide anything. And I'm sitting there, like, thinking, how dare you? How dare you? And that
so she said that about herself.
About herself.
Got it.
About herself. And it made me feel kind of, I don't really know how to put into words how I felt at that moment. It wasn't embarrassed. If anything, I was pissed.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, how can you say that when you're standing next to me?
Yeah. Which, I mean, so...
Sorry, that's off topic.
No, that's totally not off topic.
Oh, okay.
Because, one, that goes to the thing about what I was saying is, like, the first thing you see, so she might not even, like she's so focused on herself,
yeah,
that she's not even looking at, like, who else is in the picture and what do they look like. Mm-hmm. But that's very interesting that it was the contrast of somebody saying something about themselves that highlighted it for you.
Yeah.
And then, so what happened? Like, you wanted to, like, like, you were pissed, and then you were like, what went on in your head that made you want to start changing or something?
Well, that conversation in particular didn't make me want to start changing. Actually, what was the impetus of the change was that same summer after that graduation, after that picture, my boyfriend, still my boyfriend, left town for a full-time job here in the Bay Area, and so we separated. So we started a long-distance relationship. And so now that I had all this free time on my hands because I wasn't around him all the time, I just decided I should pick up being active again. It was really just a decision of like, I need to fill my time. Let's do something worthwhile.
Yeah.
And so I signed up for a recreational class, because we have those at my college, and it was called, I think, Strength Training for Women. Because I also had that intimidation at the gym where I didn't want to be like that idiot who doesn't know how to do anything.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, if I take this like small class, then I'll get comfortable and familiar. And why did I pick strength training? I had friends who were doing it, and they seemed
happy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about happy, but I just was very inspired by their progress, and like they were all shapes and sizes, lifting a bunch of heavy shit. And I thought that was really cool. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah, you can do whatever the fuck you want to do, and if anybody doesn't like it, they can turn it off.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's really interesting to me because there's so many nuances to this stuff because like sometimes people think it's like good, I thought the battery was dying.
It's red.
But sometimes it's this thing of like somebody has to hit rock bottom before they make a change.
Totally.
Sometimes though, like what I really appreciate about your approach to things is that you don't hate yourself and you didn't hate yourself. And I honestly think that like number one, obviously there's no one way to arrive to a place of where you love yourself and you feel good about everything.
Absolutely.
And you're making the right decisions for yourself.
Yeah.
But I think it's so much more beneficial if you are at a place where you're like you do love yourself and you're accepting of yourself, because then it makes changes easier.
Yes. Completely.
Because oftentimes when I talk to people, and I've talked to thousands and thousands of people over the last 8 years, specifically like people who want to lose weight, but then they're trying to decide if they're going to work with us or not.
Yeah.
The ones who need the help the most are never the ones who have the most to lose, are never the ones that make the choice. Like, I had a guy, he was 350 pounds. The doctor said, like, basically was telling him, like, you're gonna die. And he had a little daughter who was like 5 years old, and he came in and he was like, I need to do this, I need to change this because my daughter and this, and he decided not to do anything about it. So that's really interesting to me, and the big contrast that I see is like you're in a very good place mentally. I mean, we're always improving, and there's been a lot of change, but like it wasn't that, and so I think that's important, like to be mentally okay with like, hey, maybe I'm not even where I would like to be, but that's okay, which then allows you to take steps to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely wasn't from a place of self-loathing, which is where a lot of people start, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If anything, I think of it as, well, I wanted to be more active just so I could feed my body what it needed because I care about my body, truthfully.
Yeah.
I mean, I can hear people saying, like, how can you say that when you let yourself get to that point?
Yeah.
It's complicated, but,
And I think we try to make things like have to fit into like compartments and like this is why this happens and this is how it happens versus like things just happen the way that they happen. Because now that you say that, like for me, I think it was from a place of self-loathing where I stayed for a very long time, I think, until, and you know what? Like real changes didn't start happening until I started to recognize that this wasn't the way, and I started to get away from that was when like significant changes started to happen.
Yeah.
So that's very
Likewise.
interesting. Yeah. And so I think that's important. Like whatever route you take, you must love and forgive yourself. Otherwise, like I always like to say, there's no happy ending to a unhappy journey.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's really important. I think, if there's one thing you take away from this is like work on getting to that place. And you don't have to be perfect. Like again, you forgive yourself and accept yourself. And obviously we can we could talk all day about how to actually do that, but
yeah, I don't think you have to arrive to that before you get started with change, but it's my hope for everybody really is just I hope you get to that point sooner than later.
Yeah.
But you don't have to wait for that to happen before you can make some changes to level up.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing is like more level ups happen after that.
Yeah.
All the things that you thought you wanted, they happen after that point, and they come easier and easier.
Completely.
What would you say was like, if any, what was the biggest hesitation that would have stopped you from, joining our program?
Cost. I have a membership at 24 Hour Fitness, and a lot of people already think that's expensive. And so, I told you this when we got on that phone call,
Yep.
which was when I submitted that app and you called me, I told you I was prepared to pay whatever you were going to tell me. And I know that a lot of people have the privilege to say that.
Yeah.
So, I think in general when it comes to embarking on some kind of fitness or wellness journey, so to speak, of course there's going to be you have to invest somewhere, but you don't have to spend tons of money to get started.
No,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely not.
And so when it came to joining this program, definitely something that held me back from actually submitting that interest form was just the idea of cost at the time.
Yeah.
But then I kind of figured, I don't really know. I didn't know enough about the program to be able to make that call, because I didn't know that at the time. I was like, I don't know how they're, like the frequency of payment and things like that. Like I didn't know that I could split it up, so that way it was a lot easier. But it was just kind of like I was holding myself back because I was thinking I can't afford this, or I'm not sure that I can afford it. But I wasn't gonna know until I called, or until you called.
Yeah.
But I know it's a huge thing for people, and
What would you say to somebody? Because, because I'm on both sides of this. Because I have been coached, and I'm currently coached by people, across the board, and anything that I want to improve on, and that also runs through my mind. But then what I think about is like, I could, and I have, let me spend time and effort trying to figure it out, and do trial and error. Let me see if I can do a cheaper option, but I just know if I like somebody and how they do things, and which you find out from the conversation, because you don't know how we coach, right? For all you knew, we would send you out a PDF and that's it. That's the extent. Which that's not what changes people. That's not what will take you to the next level. But depending on where you are in your journey, right? Yes. But even still, I still have coaches, and for me, it's always I'm looking at what am I gonna get from this versus, and as long as I can, as long as it's not more money than I've ever made, right? Then I always think that investment is, it only improves everything. So what would you say to somebody who's I don't know if I would want to spend a lot of money on coaching? I'll just sign up for 24.
I would say give it a shot. I feel like if you are able to shoulder the costs, even for a short period of time, what is the first step for most people? 4 months. Give it a shot, and I feel like if your coach or if the coach thinks that he or she is willing to work with you, and the feeling is mutual, you could probably work out some kind of payment plan to make it fit your needs and your resources, because I think you're not going to know if it's worthwhile until you try it.
That's I was literally gonna say that. I was like, man, I think back and I was like, you know what? I did have shitty coaches in the past, but even those shitty coaches, like how would I ever know what to look for in a coach if I'm not gonna just sit there and like hope like it comes to me and like the first one is the perfect one. So, you know, in those moments I was like, man, this was terrible or blah blah blah, but that helped me identify what I really was looking for in a coach. And so I think that's a great point, is like you don't know until you try it.
You don't. And you know, for me personally, something that that occurred with, or an experience I had that made me want to take the plunge and sign up for coaching in general, not just here, is that so I've actually been on like my fitness journey or whatever you want to call it for about 3 years, and while my success kind of varied up until this point, I realized it was because I didn't really have structure. I had a lot of friends who I would work out with. They were like my gym buddies, and I would usually just follow whatever they were doing. But they were also getting their workouts from like the internet, and well, one of them had signed up for I think bodybuilding.com or something like that, and they have programs. So that was pretty cool. That was a little more structured, but still, I was like,
It wasn't tailored to you.
It wasn't tailored to me. I was just doing all kinds of different things every time I was at the gym because they were doing all kinds of things. Obviously, nobody was really critiquing me on my form. If I had a question, who was I going to ask? And a big thing for me was actually the nutrition aspect, which is the foundation of everything. So
absolutely. What did you find as a result of signing up and doing the program?
Well, for one thing, back to the topic of costs, when you have to pay money for things, you are more motivated to make sure you're getting your money's worth. So it was pretty important to me that I had to get results out of this, because I'm not going to pay you and then not do it.
Well, I always like to say, like, so I'll just say it, like, we're very good, like, we're the best in the world at what we do, and feel free to disagree if you don't think so.
No, I agree.
But we're very, like, we take a lot of pride and put a lot of effort into, delivering on what we do, but I always like to say, it's not for the price is not even for me, it's your gateway into your own effort. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And so, and I found that with myself is like, there's tons of business information online that I could just look at, and I have downloaded on my computer, free PDFs and stuff, but yet I paid my coach, my business coach, 5 figures to coach me, and that spending that money has yielded far greater results than all the PDFs on my computer in my download folder, right?
Yeah.
So you pay attention to the things that you pay for,
yes.
Right?
I mean, that's not to say that you can't achieve the same results, if you were to not pay that kind of money, but it's just... I try to look, I don't see that happening very frequently, like, and the results are not just like you lose a bunch of weight, because there's a lot of people who lose a bunch of weight, but the results that we always want to strive for is like, it's not about getting the results, it's how you're getting to the results, right? Yes. So like, people can lose weight doing stupid things that are driving them insane, and they don't, it's not fun. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna live your rest of your life like that? You know what I mean?
Chicken and broccoli.
Chicken and broccoli pills, right? And so they tend to not stick, and they just don't. They never. Or you have a person who then lives their whole life being miserable themselves and making other people miserable,
right,
around them.
Yeah.
So what I've found is that the people who end up getting the most success and are having the most fun doing it, they're the ones who have invested in themselves. So it's just that's just how it works, it seems.
Yeah.
What did you like What specific thing did you like the most about the program?
That's a tough one. Because there was a lot of things that I got from the program that I wasn't expecting to get. So it's difficult to be able to pinpoint one thing because I feel like as a package, I got a whole lot out of it. If I can go a little bit off the grain and aside from the program, the thing that I gained that has been priceless is the community here. I think I've told you this before, like since joining here, I've become more social and I like going out with people a lot more often. And I seek out, hey, let's go get coffee, let's go get donuts or whatever. It doesn't have to always be about food, but it usually is. Let's go do things,
and that's dope because then you're actually enjoying the things that otherwise people avoid, which is the food and then the food and then the environment, like having enjoyable time with people.
Yeah. A big thing is I think in terms of the program, something that helped me was just the accountability, because I think that's what people lack when they're doing things on their own, is there's nobody saying like, hey, you need to remember to focus on this versus that. How was your eating yesterday? I know that you guys are looking, not diligently, but you're keeping tabs on the tracking and things like that. So it's like, I don't really have anything to hide, but also if I were to choose to not log it, I'm the one losing.
Like that's good, and you're that brings up an interesting thing is like, it's not only that, like we're checking in on things on a daily basis of like
on a daily basis,
but the second thing is like you might just not know what it is to focus on. It can be overwhelming to be like, well, everybody and their mom is talking about 1,000 different things, but in reality, hey, there's only 3 things that matter, and my coach is telling me and reminding me. Sometimes the thing is like you just forget. You just forget, what do I need to focus on? And so that's something that I think is valuable for myself as somebody who has coaches, but
for me too.
Yeah. What other 3 things that kind of come to mind as far as like that you really enjoyed or were really helpful as far as joining the program?
Form checks. Since I'm trying to, like, my primary goal is to gain strength and mobility. It's actually not weight loss.
So for anybody who doesn't know, form checks as far as like your technique on your exercise and your lifts.
Yeah, so that way you don't get injured, because nobody wants to get injured because then you have to take time off. So form checks was one. I liked that you guys check on me every day. I mean, I'm not the kind of person whose phone is getting blown up all the time, so it's nice looking at my phone and seeing that it's Ranbir or another coach saying, "Hey, how's it going? How's your day going?" It's kind of it was nice knowing that there's someone else looking out for you.
Let me add, I put my risk looking silly here, but that's okay. I'm okay with looking silly. Like what silly I was gonna say, silly is the best way to be. So like when you would get check-ins from us or you would hear from us, did you feel like they were actually genuine or just a robotic thing like, hey, what's up? And then like no matter what your response is like it's not genuine or meaningful, or like did you feel that, or how did you feel about them? Because that's very important to me, is to not make it be, that's part of the reason, like we spend a lot of time with each person, whether there are online people or in-person people, like I want to really know and hear what's going on, so then that's how we make progress. Like, how did you feel about that?
I thought it was genuine. I think what helped was that it was never a regular thing. Like, it wouldn't always be like 8 a.m. every day I got a text message. It would be all throughout the day, any time of day. So in my mind, I was like, well, if you're taking the time to text me, it must be because you want to get a response. I might not reply right away, but I expect that you're actually checking in because you're curious how I'm doing, not so much
just checking off the list.
checking off the list. Checked in with her, him.
It's all good. Yeah. So that's really, really. I mean, I appreciate that as somebody, and that's how I always try to look at things. Like, what would I want as a client? Because I've been and I am a client and have coaches, and I used to hate the worst experience. This is a side note, but like somebody, I think I was like 19 or 20. I paid $600, which I don't even know. It must have been even sooner than that because I wasn't working. I paid $600 for a coach, and he gave me like 3 pieces of paper, 8.5 by 11, with a bunch of work like exercises, and he basically telling me to eat chicken and sweet potatoes. I don't even know what it was.
Hey, at least it's sweet potatoes, not broccoli.
It was sweet potatoes, yeah.
That's a step above.
And that was it. And so I was like, I want coaching. I want you to teach me. I want you to have a conversation with me, not give me a piece of paper. So.
Yeah. And also, what I like is that I have the privilege of texting you guys anytime about virtually anything. I ask you a lot of silly questions. I haven't done that with Josh, but I see him every day.
they're not silly because those things affect everything about you. And we've worked on a lot of stuff. I always say this, like, the nutrition, the training stuff ends up being the easiest part. It's like the other things that are going on in your head and in your body, as far as like, so your thoughts are your language of your mind, and then your feelings are the language of your body.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on there? Because that's what's affecting what you're eating, and like, it's not the food itself, it's who you are being. And so we talked about a lot of things like that.
Yeah, we did.
Would you recommend the program? And if so, why? If you don't, then we're gonna cut this video right now.
Oh my god, that's a lot of pressure. Of course I recommend it. I think that what you have here, as a space, as a community, is really precious. And yeah, aside from the nutrition and training, which is incredibly important and is the foundation of why we're here, I feel like I've been here for what, almost 6 months now? Yeah, almost 6 months now. Wow. I didn't think about that till now. The past 6 months have been some of the most fulfilling 6 months of my life, and I'm not saying that just because I'm on camera. Like, genuinely, I've gained a lot of friendships, and just such a supportive space where, I think I told you this, at my old job, like, it was one of those like soul-sucking jobs where you just kind of have to have a poker face all day and just be polite. And I felt like I didn't smile genuinely until I walked into this space every day, 5 days a week, 4 days a week. I was here 4 days a week. I took a day, a rest day.
A rest day.
Took a rest day, but 4 days a week.
Well, I feel very appreciative and humbled, but and kind of wrapping things up, I want, and this is what we kind of talked about earlier, is like, it's you who are doing everything, and how, like, so along those lines, it's like, it's people like yourself who have ideals or principles that you want to uphold that make this place what it is, whether it's the people who are physically here in San Jose, or like, I get the same thing from all of our clients from all over the place. And it reminded me, you just said like you are more sociable and all that kind of stuff, you want to go out. I just got a text from one of our ladies in Toronto, shout out Danjok, who was saying the same thing. She's like, I feel just so good, and like I want to spend time with people,
Yeah. Like, I felt very welcome here, and when you develop such strong bonds with the people who are literally giving you the program to exercise and eat, like, why wouldn't you want to do it?
Yeah.
Like, I looked forward to coming here just for the sake of seeing you guys.
That's how dope we are. Just kidding.
It's true.
And
it's
well,
true.
That's the same thing for us, and that's why we have those conversations at the beginning. Because remember, I told you, I was like, if I don't think I'm gonna have fun working with you, and I don't think you're gonna have fun working. No, it's not gonna make any
What's
sense.
the point? Yeah.
So, I look forward. I think it's so amazing. Like, we had coffee earlier, and I'm like, how dope is that? That the people that this is my quote unquote job, that I look forward to seeing them versus, typically it's like anything to do with work, people or clients or whatever, you're like, I don't want to fucking see.
Yeah, it's the
or hear
weekend.
from them.
I'm off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I have one last question, and then I got some bonus round questions. Is there anything you'd like to add as far as that before we get into these bonus questions?
Be very patient with yourself and your journey. It's not always going to be wins. There's going to be a lot of trucking through mud. Lots of just like, I really don't feel like doing this. Lots of times where you think you do everything right, but then you realize the next day when you step on the scale, because we weigh in every day, that's like, wow, I did all this stuff and stuff on the scale, and yet it went up. But you just have to keep going. Like, it's about
and trust.
Yes, trust the process. Very cliche thing, but it's true. And also, like, it's about the overall trends, not the individual little things.
Yep.
And you always have an opportunity to turn it around.
And what you find is, like, what we always remind you is, like, you're actually, like, even when you think you went backwards, like, that's all progress. Like,
Yep.
that's all part of the learning experience. So when you recognize that nothing is going to happen to you that is not going to be for your benefit, that makes everything it allows you to have equanimity, which is one of the 3 E's, all right? And so if you don't know what equanimity is, that's your homework. I'm going to give you some homework, all right? All right, so I got a question for you.
Okay.
What do you think of garden gnomes?
They're kind of creepy sometimes.
Kind of creepy.
Kind of creepy.
Fun fact, my current and my only wife and my girlfriend, that was the silliest way to say this, but we've been together since high school, who at that time was my girlfriend. I gave her a garden gnome as a gift. I don't know, I don't remember.
Was it a joke?
Probably.
Okay.
But it was a gift, and I think she still has it, so fun fact. Hey, and now we're married.
Give your partners garden gnomes.
Garden gnomes. Give them an interesting name, too.
What's your name?
Wow. It started with an R, but now I have forgotten.
Ranbir Jr.
There we go. We'll go with Ranbir Jr. You've been given an elephant. You can't give it away, and you can't sell it. What are you going to do with this elephant?
Put it in a room. So every time I have people over, I'll be like, can we address the elephant in the room?
I like that. I like that. Man, we should just end this. We're going to end it because that was too good. And that was not even, all right, that was
Not even planned.
not planned. That wasn't even an answer I was hoping to get, but that was the best answer of all time. So remember, if you have any questions, please message us. We hope you have a fantastic rest of your whatever you're watching this time. So make sure you like and comment and share and do
follow me.
all things and follow her. Do you want to say how to spell it? So you can keep up with Aubrey's gains.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at FitlyBree. That's B-R-E-E. Fitly as in like the word fit with an L-Y. Like it's a...
F-I-T-L-Y.
B-R-E-E.
There you go. Have a fantastic day.